Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? I know I just screwed up my intro. So, I hate my background, but I'm trying things. So, hi everyone. How you guys doing? So, we're going to talk about today about the Littermate Syndrome. And why we're talking about the Littermate Syndrome? Because I want to kind of make sure we're clarifying that. So, do you guys have littermates in your home? And if you do, how many dogs do you have? How many littermates have you had? Do you agree with people should not adopt littermates? We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to tell you that it's not what you think it is. So, first of all, before I wrote a post about Littermate syndrome, I did some research. And guess what I found? I'll make you I make it light and clear and show you exactly what I found. In my research about Littermate syndrome, I found this many studies. There is no scientific study about the Littermate syndrome. Yes. So, then why is everybody talking about the Linder syndrome if there is no scientific evidence? I'll explain to you why. Because it's very common. People say, it's of course, you have littermates, they got in a fight all the time. And then you have the other people telling you, well, I have littermates, they never got in a fight. And then you have breeders says, well, you'll never adopt out dogs in families with same leaders. And then you have rescues that tells you, I would never ever adopt out two littermates. And then shelter says, no, we don't adopt out together littermates. We don't do that. But why not? What makes them say it's not going to work? And I was the same guy. I was telling other people, like, you shouldn't adopt a littermate. Until one day I said, wait a minute, why not? What's wrong with it? So I'll tell you what's wrong with it. It doesn't exist. There is, scientifically speaking, no Littermate syndrome anywhere in literature. And I'm going to prove to you right now. And what I will do is actually, I'm going to share the screen with you so we will be on the same page. So let me share the screen with you and we're going to do it together. Where am I? Go. I'm going to go to Google Scholar. Here I am. And I'm going to do that. Ready? Okay. So let's talk about that. You see all these words coming up with syndrome, right? Okay. Now let's clarify that. That says only Littermate syndrome in that. Voila. So because in many literatures you will find littermate and the word syndrome for different reasons, we're going to find Littermate syndrome. And guess what's happened here? We actually only find one particular book. And what it says, you define guide to care and training, page 2, contents about the book, about the author, special friendship, are you ready, Labrador, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And then we're going to click on it. It's a book. It's a book about Labradors. Okay. Good. And so there's a book about Labradors, and that's pretty much it. And there's an author writing about books. Yep. There is just writing about books. There is no paper reference. It's just a book talking about Labradors. And at some point, it says that puppies, Labrador puppies, can get in fights and disputes, and they get out into fights. That's it. So, can anyone explain to me or share with me any scientific evidence? Because there is none. Wow, right? Now, what the heck is going on then? Why are people talking about this? I'll explain to you why. Because there's another reason why dogs get in a fight, and it's not the syndrome. Okay? What is it? First of all, we have to identify there are critical periods in a puppy stage in a lifetime. And to be more precise, we have multiple periods. So first of all, in the very, very beginning, we have the neonatal period. This is between 0 and 12 days old. And then we have the parent imprint period. There's about 13 to 5 weeks, 13 days to 5 weeks. And this imprint period is very important, okay? And then between 21 days and 28 days, we're going through an awareness period. And then between 21 days and 49 days, we have a canine socialization period. Voila, right? And then where the puppies actually start being adopted. And then we have a human socialization period, 7 to 12 weeks, right? And then we have an authority imprint period between 8 weeks and 11 weeks, right? And then we have a seniority classification period between 30 weeks and 16 weeks. So you see, all of a sudden, there's so much things going on in a couple of months of the puppy being in your home. And now if you have littermates in your home, they socialize with each other, they play with each other, they become aware with each other, they imprint the parent at the same time. And all these things are happening at the same time for two dogs who come from the same family and live together and experience the environment. Then what makes a behavior, or what makes the dog's character? The dog's character is made out of genetics and environmental factors. So each of those dogs are going through similar genetics and same environmental factors, right? And so there is a possibility that both dogs come through and same conclusion, same experience at the same time, yet there is a tiny little difference how each dog perceives his environment based on his genetic configuration, because not all dogs are the same, right? So, and then we have the parent, and the parent affects his environment and the puppy's environment. So, do you guys have any questions so far? Right? You're welcome to join. By the way, where are you from? Where are you watching from? I'm here in Eugene, and we're talking about stuff, Eugene, Oregon, and we talk about stuff. We want to make sure we have this on the same page. So what is that? What causes our problems in our homes? First of all, let's go and look nature. What's going on with nature? Hi, Julie from Phoenix, and hi, Patty. We look at, in nature, we have pack animals. That's what people say, right? Dogs are pack animals. They live in packs. Okay. So if you look at people, people live in packs? What's your opinion? Do people, like families, live in packs of humans? What do you think? And do dogs live in packs? What do you think? I would like to have your input, because it's important to me to see what you guys thinking about it. From my observations and what science says is the dogs live in very organized family systems. Like you live in an organized family system or disorganized family system. You know what I'm talking about, right? So how is this family system set up? There is parents and there's an offspring, the children or the puppies of those parents. And then we have second generation offspring from the same family. And all of a sudden, we see that we have this family structure that is kind of like matriarchic or patriarchic. Some people say it's patriarchic. Science says it's matriarchic, actually. So the mother sets the rules. The father helps establishing those rules that mother sets. And they start very early through the imprinting process where the mother feeds the puppies. So these puppies are building secure attachment relationship with their mother. Okay. Any doubts on that? No, really. So yes, I can show you all the scientific papers. We're going to wasting time Googling things around, but you can Google it yourself. Imprint period on puppies and then imprinting. Search that term. And that's what we have right now is we have this transition period where after these puppies are being imprinted and creating a secure attachment with their parents, the parents have a power tool in your hands, which is parenting. As simple as that. So there is this fear, in quote, for the puppies to not screw up the relationship with their parents because parents make puppies feel safe. They're being nurtured, they're being fed, they're being protected. All these things fall in place, right? And the parents know that for the last, let's say, 15 million generations of dogs. All these things are coming up to surface, and puppies genetically know you don't screw up with your parents. The parents just need to stop feeding you and you're kind of dead. So this internal feelings of separation anxiety if parents walk away, and this calmness when they come back. And though they stick together as a family because of the fact that family is something that helps you survive. Now, as puppies grow, they have to learn about aggression, right? And I know nobody talks about that, but aggression is a very important piece of the puppy's development. Aggression is a tool to survive, and it starts very early. These very early minor stages of aggression, how to survive is how to find your mother, how to bypass the other ones, try to get milk to survive. And so there is an urge to follow through with what you're planning, otherwise you're going to die. Now, the parents have management skills because they learned it from their parents. So there is an educational line in real life of dogs. The parents educate their puppies. The puppies are educated by their previous offspring. And so there is this linear education system. Parents educating the puppies, the other ones watching that education process, and then they learn how to parent their puppies in the third generation. So this is this vicious circle of education. Good? Now, what if we interrupt that education system and we pull away that puppy into our family system? What about we pull two dogs out this family system and put them in our homes? Is this education system continue? No. Why that? First of all, the puppies haven't imprinted yet with their own human parents because they're just being disconnected from their secure attachment relationship with the real parents. So we have a trauma kicking in right there. They're being removed from their parents where they feel safe. And now, without any tools, how to create a secure attachment with the new parents, the only one they have to attach to and they feel comfortable with is their siblings. See where I'm coming from with this? So we basically destroy the secure attachment relationship, and now the puppy naturally will attach to the next available attachment that he was in, which is his partner or his brother or his sister, right? Now, what if we are not paying attention to that and we say like, oh my God, they're playing so cute to each other. Let them be dogs, like many people do. And the reason why we want two dogs is because they want to keep each other company. But we're not putting in place any systems that are educational, especially in this critical period of time. For example, after the adoption, right, between 7 and 12 weeks, where this human socialization kicks in, we kind of not paying attention to it because the puppies are playing so cute with each other and we let them play. But in this human socialization period that we bring the puppies in, it's overlapping with this canine socialization period. So those two periods are overlapping with each other. And while the dogs are learning to socialize with each other, we interrupt the supervision of their real parents they imprinted with, and they're coming in the new home, which is wild. And now these things come in here, right? And there is no control and no regulation. And these are the following traumas that can happen. First of all, fear of his own littermates, right? What can happen here is the puppy who comes in this family together will not only be the same puppies the puppy was bonded with, okay? We don't know. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So the likelihood those littermates are not a good match with each other is high because the breeder has to be very aware which dogs are bonded together, a bonded pair, right? Dogs in nature, they're bonding in synergistic couples, which is the one who is more confident followed by somebody who is not so confident as the one he's following. So this is a natural occurring following. It's not the pack leader, it's the follower who makes that system be a duality, right? And a dyadic system. And from there, the next thing we're going to see trauma kicking in is resource and territorial trauma. Because I just moved away the dog from his safe place and I put him in a new place with no safety features in place, totally strange environment. And so the dog goes naturally in a survival instinct and he wants to guard his safe space. Well, his personal safe space is being occupied by somebody he's not really bonded with. Like, what are you doing here? You're not my best brother, right? And all of a sudden, we can cause a trauma out of nowhere. A, fear of his own littermates, and B, resource and territorial trauma. Plus, we are dealing with separation anxiety because sometimes we remove puppies too early, like 7.5-ish weeks, 8 weeks, because the law says that. But dogs, these 8 weeks, especially if they're larger breeds, they're not really there yet because sometimes it takes like 10 weeks for them to get to that emotional state. It's not time related, it's an event related, and it's development related. Okay? And what if this litter does not come from a well-educated breeder, it comes from a backyard breeder? Or what if these littermates come from a breeding facility and all this trauma comes within as a package? Okay? And what if those puppies who come in from those high anxiety level of stress are not well developed emotionally, meaning is they're not able to deal with each other emotions because they don't have a regulated system because they actually never lived with their parents. Now you see how easy it gets, those two dogs who come from the same family being disrupted in their development, being put in the same place together, and then the system will fail because there's no safety feature in place. We just don't know what we're dealing with. Just because of the trauma, the puppy is being removed from his previous safe space in this critical time, 29 to 49 days socialization period. We dump them into a human socialization period in a new home. And what are the traumas there? The first trauma the dogs are coming with, and now the new trauma kicks in, is the abandonment trauma. They're just being abandoned by their parents. They don't know why they're not there anymore. They don't have that logic that we expect. Then we have grief kicking in because they're missing their parents. They're missing the other leaders. What happened to them? Okay, there is an anxiety kicking in. And then that comes in with sensitivity to noises and motion due to their transportation. How did these puppies end up to your house? In the car. Like they've never been in the car before and suddenly driving for hours from one place to the other. Like this car is moving and the sounds are happening. And some dog puppies are being transported in a truck, in a kennel, in a plane. I know dogs who came from Europe into US and vice versa. These are highly traumatized dogs. Now, do you understand that the term trauma brain? So you create this circle of trauma, and you're perpetuating it because you will not be able to create the secure attachment bond. Now, how many times have you read in articles you have to create a secure attachment bond with your puppy when it comes to your home? And you don't dump the puppies playing with each other endless without actually knowing who ate most of that food. And how many times we're not paying attention to what we're feeding the dogs, because now not only we have this past trauma that we bring into the family, we have new trauma kicking in, because you know what? You know how much it costs to feed two puppies? A lot of money. I just paid $1,000, all these vaccinations and all these transportations, and I have to save on food. Oops. And all of a sudden, you're not feeding healthy. And puppies have lack of nutrients. And the food is not enough because we go according to the script, right? We read the ingredients like, what's there? Puppy, 15 pounds. He should eat like 225 copper pucks. And I don't read the details because the big numbers are fine with me, but you don't see that says, hey, puppies are young. They have sometimes growth spurt. You might sometimes have to feed 30% more. Right? And then we say, well, I feed my puppy twice a day and he leaves food over. Right? I agree with you. But remember, the dog's puppy's belly is so small. He doesn't fit the amount of food you put in a plate. Of course, he will leave it behind because he's bloated. Right? And then he walks away from it and says, well, that's it. We're done. So you take the food away like normal. You don't want any ants in your kitchen, right? And then you put the second time in the evening and the puppies eat again and leave again his food over. And he says, well, my puppy eats enough. He leaves food behind. Not really. He doesn't fit to eat more food, but actually he's hungry. Prove that many people who call me and we do online sessions, many people say, wait, my puppies are aggressive to each other. They're fighting each other. And the first question I ask, how many times do you feed? Like twice? Like 4 times a day until they are 4 months old. And then you mine down to 3 times a day until they're 6 months old. And then you wean it off to 2. Oh, and what food are you feeding? Yeah, well, this brand. And I was like, do you see the ingredients? There's actually nothing healthy in it. And as soon as they switch the food, voila, problem solved. So we're going to have more discussions about that because that Littermate syndrome is a really pain in the butt. And it really does a lot of damage in relationship and really causes a lot of issue. And we need to address that and put it in the right place where it belongs, in the reality, in the light of the scientific evidence we have, which is zero. There's zero scientific evidence that Littermate syndrome exists because it doesn't. And why would I have to prove something that doesn't exist? For the sake of saying, well, I told you there's nothing there. Why would people spend hours and years studying something that actually doesn't exist? You see where I'm coming from? So if you don't find the study, it's because nobody will spend money and time researching something that doesn't exist. Right? But there's so many books and like one book, right? And so many posts, well, blog posts perpetuating an idea that actually doesn't exist. So today we talked about how actually trauma from one adoption into the home can cause so much problems in your home. It doesn't have to be the same litter. It needs to be just the same dogs, same age dogs from different litters at the same time coming to your home. Okay? So right now, we did the first part of 5. The first part of 5, why litter syndrome doesn't exist and what it actually is. So we look at the trauma of puppies. We look at the trauma affected puppies. We see that puppies, their trauma brain is functioning through them. And if you don't help the puppies regulate it with your parenting intervention, with you creating the secure attachment relationship around your puppies, these puppies will end up in trouble. And it's not because of the Littermate syndrome, it's because lack of parenting skills and lack of family code of conduct. Oops, I said it. So, when we look into that from that perspective, do you see why the Littermate syndrome is a hoax? And who's served by it? No one. This does more damage than good. So, you can adopt puppies, right? But you need to know what you're doing. You need to understand that there is a parenting skill involved. There needs education involved. There is trauma involved. There is structure involved. And if you let things go with their own thing, then the dog's breed traits, the individual breed traits, and the dog's individual personality will come to surface, and they will get in trouble. There are 5 reasons why dogs get into trouble. Excitement, meaning is the puppies do not have excitement control because their parents didn't have time to do it, and people who adopted a dog didn't have time to deal with it because people work, right? Frustration disputes, because frustrated dogs, they don't have enough for something, they try to get something, they don't get what it wants, they start going after each other because they're frustrated, and so this negative emotional chain creates aggression. Then possessive disputes, right? With a brain of it's mine or gonna die. Why? Because you're not feeding enough, because the food is not healthy, because I don't feel safe in my space, because I'm in a new place I don't know about, right? And then we have another issue. We have balance and rule disputes between you shouldn't do it or I should do it because the family code of conduct is not in place. And then we have communication disputes because those puppies and dogs don't know how to communicate with you, and you don't get what they mean. And all of a sudden, that becomes an issue because of those miscommunications between each other, right? Now, that's why we have disputes in a home. So, next time, we will talk about what's going to happen after the adoption and what's going to happen the first 4 weeks after the adoption and how to prevent that Littermate syndrome, right? In reality, there are regular disputes, how to manage and how to prevent it, being preventative and act as preventative parenting to eliminate those disputes or to help those disputes become an education for those puppies because they need to learn. They need to learn how to interact with each other. They need to learn how to get excited with each other. They need to learn how to regulate their emotions. They need to regulate how to troubleshoot situations. Where do we go if we have a problem? What do we do? And how many times I've seen that people get rough with their puppies because they want to need to know who's the boss, right? And then teaching the puppy that aggression is how you solve disputes, perpetuating the problem, making things more worse. Well, if my parents behave that way with me, I will behave that same way to my partner because that's what we do, I guess. See what I'm talking about? So, what is your takeaway today? Yes, Gail, I agree. Yep. Trauma and secure attachment relationship, lack of social skills, okay, lack of education, all these things come together. So today was part 1. Next Saturday we're going to go to part 2. So you want to share this video with others that tells you, yeah, it's Littermate syndrome. Yeah, of course it's what else would it be, right? And then ask them, what exactly are you referring to? Because I couldn't find any scientific evidence of any type of things that's called syndrome, Littermate syndrome. If that would be the case, human sister and sibling syndrome would exist for the same reason. But we don't call that because we know exactly what's going on because we have brothers and we can think through logical. I don't like my brother because he's an asshole. I don't like my sister because she's an asshole. I don't like my parents because they don't know what we're going through. And so you see, all these things we can understand on the human perspective, but we turn a blind eye and just stamp it Littermate syndrome because we have to admit that we have no clue. We don't really. And then we have to admit that we're cutting edges on dog food, and we cut edges on education and time to socialize the puppies appropriately and supervising them. And then we do admit that basically there is a parenting syndrome, not the Littermate syndrome, right? Because literally all the parents or most of the parents have no clue what they're dealing with. They just want to have a dog playing around with things, right? Okay. So I hope that helped you. I have a next session and I need to guys keep going. If you need help with your dogs who somebody says they have Littermate syndrome, I'm happy to talk to you about it. You can go through my website, holisticdogtraining.org, click on that contact info and schedule an appointment or talk to me about what you're struggling with, and we get things sorted out. Okay? Is everything fixable? Well, depends on the situation how far things have gone. Okay, sometimes it's not a good match, and sometimes we have to kind of admit that, you know what, this is so far progressed that there is already trauma involved, and the best thing to do is to separate those dogs and give them a better safe place to be, rather than feeling the sense of domestic violence in the house because the other littermate is attacking them viciously and you have no way to protect them, right? But usually it's easily to be addressed because once we address those little issues, everything smoothens out and puppies can be well, conform to this process. However, the most critical period of time is between week 14 and 16. This is where the most messed up situation can happen. So the earlier the better. And if you are a breeder or you are a rescue and you're considering to take that in consideration, I'm happy to sit down with you guys and talk through it so you know what to talk to your fosters and how to explain to your adopters, so you have a structured system in place to help those dogs being adopted. There's nothing better than have a family continue being a family and not breaking them apart. And you guys who are siblings or you are brothers and sisters or you have twins, you know what I'm talking about, how you feel about your other part missing from you, okay, and what anxiety it caused to you. So thanks for watching. I hope it helped you. I would love your feedback. What was your takeaway today? And if there's something I haven't said, let me know. Hey, you haven't talked about that yet. I'll make sure I do this next time. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. And be the best parent and reach your dog's highest potential.